You should also plan on having a different communication strategy with people close to the person who's been fired. An email message isn't enough communication for people who will be directly affected by the firing, and that includes groups like the employee's direct teammates, people who reported directly to the employee, employees who will have to take on more work as a result of this absence, and key leaders in the company. You're going to have a different, more personal strategy to communicate with them. Here's how you deal with the various groups that have been affected, and these are the people who are closer to the person who's been fired. The person's team and other people directly affected should be informed immediately after the firing takes place. They probably shouldn't know before, but they should know right after. These people must be communicated with in person, so an email isn't enough. You may want to talk with each one-on-one, and there may be some things you can't share, and just be honest and just say, I'm sorry, out of respect to the person or because of this situation, I'm not at liberty to share details, but I just want you to know what's going on and how it will affect you. Your leadership team should know what's going on before the firing takes place so that they're aware of it and they are there to answer questions and be prepared for any fallout that might happen. It's important to minimize fear and gossip. Fear I'm not as concerned about, gossip I am concerned about. And in the absence of information, bad news will fill the vacuum. And I can just guarantee you that whatever bad news is circulating, it will be much worse than what actually happened. So you need to get ahead of that story and communicate directly. So be clear in your messaging verbally to key people and in writing to the rest of the company. Never be tempted or never give in to the temptation to badmouth the employee. You're going to be tempted to do that because you think it will bring people on your side and so on. But I would encourage you to take the high road because you're on stage right now and everybody is looking to see how do you handle stress and how do you handle things when you're attacked maybe? Do you have character? So when you take the high road, people's respect for you will go up and they probably know, the basics of what happened in that story because often the boss is the last person to know. So just don't be tempted to take the low road and speak badly about that person. Take the high road. You may not be able to tell the whole story, and that's fine. Just say, I'm sorry, I'm not at liberty to share some details, but this is what happened in general, and this is how it's going to affect you. Fear and gossip becomes more serious during layoffs and restructuring because it potentially affects everyone, not just people who are misbehaving. So communicate very clearly who is being laid off and when and why. Communicate who is not being laid off and why. And here's an important point. Lay off everyone at once. If you feel like you have to make deep cuts, make the cuts and make them once and avoid death by 1,000 cuts. There's nothing worse than having a round of layoffs and people think, okay, maybe we're getting back to normal. And then there's another round and maybe there's a third round. And in the meanwhile, everyone is sitting on pins and needles and they're fearful and they're gossiping about it and they're not getting anything done. So if you have to do layoffs, do them all at once if possible. Gossip is always bad, but appropriate fear can be good. Remember when I said I'm concerned about gossip, but I'm not so concerned about fear. And here's why. If the person was fired for productivity issues, other people who are unproductive will feel appropriate fear, and they'll have an opportunity to pick up their game. Appropriate fear can be healthy for your company, and it can be healthy for individual people because it just gives everyone a reminder that I need to be productive to be working here. If the employee was fired for attitude issues, other people with attitude problems will take note and they'll reconsider their own attitudes. And you may find after a firing that everyone becomes more respectful and more productive too.